Incident 1. In August 2016, a family vacation turned into a nightmare no one at a water park ever expects. 10-year-old Caleb Schwab visited Schlitterbahn water park in Kansas City with his parents and younger brother. The park's biggest attraction was Verrückt, once promoted as the tallest water slide on Earth, towering over 168 feet. Riders were warned it was extreme, fast, and unlike anything else in the world. The slide used inflatable rafts meant for 1 or 2 people, racing down at terrifying speeds. Despite weighing less than the recommended minimum, Caleb was allowed to ride the slide alone. As the raft dropped down the first hill, it lifted off the track, something engineers already knew could happen. During test runs, the raft going airborne had been reported, but the ride stayed open anyway. At the second hill, the raft launched violently upward, throwing Caleb into the air. In a split second, he struck an overhead metal support that riders were never supposed to come near. The impact was fatal, and the park fell silent as lifeguards rushed toward the scene. Emergency responders arrived within seconds, but there was nothing anyone could do to save him. Schlitterbahn Water Park was immediately shut down, and Verrückt never reopened again. Investigators later uncovered that the slide had no proper engineering review or safety testing. Instead of simulations, the park relied on sandbags and even employees to test the ride. In 2019, criminal charges were filed against park executives, accusing them of reckless negligence. Although the charges were later dismissed, the scandal shook the amusement park industry worldwide. Verrückt was dismantled, safety laws were tightened, but Caleb Schwab's death remains one of the darkest tragedies in water park history. Incident 2. In July 1985, what was meant to be a joyful summer visit to Disney's River Country quietly turned into one of the park's darkest tragedies at Walt Disney World, Florida. 14-year-old Michael Mears was visiting the park with close family friends, excited to spend a hot summer day swimming and relaxing. River Country, Disney's very first water park, was designed to feel safe, friendly, and natural, like an old-fashioned swimming hole. Unlike modern water parks, the attraction used real, untreated lake water connected directly to Bay Lake. Guests were allowed to freely enter the water, trusting that Disney's reputation meant everything was under control. That day, the area was crowded with swimmers, children laughing, and inner tubes drifting across the surface. Michael stepped into the water without wearing a life jacket, unaware of how quickly conditions could change. Just a few steps forward, the water depth suddenly dropped far beyond the shallow entry zone. Beneath the surface, the water was dark and murky, with almost no visibility at all. Michael struggled to stay afloat, panicking as his feet could no longer touch the bottom. Within seconds, he slipped beneath the surface and vanished from view. Surrounded by noise and movement, other guests assumed he had simply exited the water unnoticed. When Michael failed to resurface, lifeguards were finally alerted and began an urgent search. His body was later discovered at the bottom of the lake, bringing the entire area to a sudden, horrifying silence. Emergency responders confirmed that Michael had drowned. Following the incident, River Country was temporarily closed as questions about safety and design began to surface. Although the park reopened and continued operating for several years, public trust was deeply shaken and never fully recovered. In 2001, River Country was permanently closed, and Michael's death became a turning point that helped change water park safety standards around the world. Incident 3. In the late 1980s, Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey, gained a dangerous reputation for extreme rides that were poorly regulated and aggressively marketed. The park proudly promoted itself as a place where thrill seekers could push their limits without restrictions. Among its most infamous attractions was the Cannonball Loop, a water slide unlike anything seen before. The slide featured a full vertical loop, a design rarely attempted in water parks due to extreme safety risks. From the very beginning, early test runs exposed serious problems with rider speed and control. During testing, mannequins sent through the slide reportedly came out damaged, broken, or missing parts. These alarming results raised clear warnings about the ride's safety. Despite this, the Cannonball Loop was allowed to continue limited testing rather than being permanently shut down. In 1985, a young man volunteered to enter the Cannonball loop for a test ride. Once inside the enclosed slide, he was rapidly accelerated toward the vertical loop. As he reached the loop, his speed was not enough to carry him safely through the top. He became trapped inside the enclosed section of the slide, unable to move forward or escape. When he failed to exit, emergency staff were finally alerted. The rider was found unconscious inside the tube after the slide was opened. He later died from severe injuries sustained during the incident. Following the death, the Cannonball loop was immediately shut down. The attraction was never reopened to the public, becoming a warning rather than a ride. The Cannonball loop incident went on to symbolize negligence and reckless design in amusement park history. Incident 4. In 1980, what began as a happy family visit to Disney's River Country in Florida slowly turned into a devastating and unexpected tragedy. 11-year-old Kathy Lee was visiting the water park during summer vacation, excited to swim and enjoy the attractions like thousands of other children. At the time, River Country allowed guests to swim in warm, untreated freshwater drawn directly from nearby lakes. This design was advertised as natural, refreshing, and completely safe for families. Kathy spent the day happily swimming, playing, and moving between different water areas without any sign of danger. Several days after returning home, she suddenly began suffering from intense headaches and a high fever. Her condition worsened rapidly, leaving doctors confused as her symptoms did not match common illnesses. After further testing, she was diagnosed with primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, an extremely rare but deadly infection. The illness is caused by Naegleria fowleri, often referred to as a brain-eating amoeba. This organism enters the body through the nose, typically while swimming in warm freshwater. Once inside, it travels to the brain, causing severe inflammation and damage. Despite aggressive and intensive medical treatment, Kathy's condition continued to deteriorate. She died several days later from complications caused by the infection. Health officials later traced the source of exposure back to River Country's untreated water system. The incident raised serious concerns about the safety of recreational water attractions. In response, Disney implemented changes to water treatment and safety procedures. Public awareness of amoeba risks in warm freshwater increased across the United States. Kathy Lee's case remains one of the most well-known and tragic water park-related health incidents in American history. Incident 5. In June 2013, a normal summer outing at Schlitterbahn Galveston Island Water Park in Texas suddenly turned into a devastating tragedy. Adriana Ochoa, a 43-year-old woman, was visiting the park with her family, expecting a day of excitement and fun. Schlitterbahn Galveston was well known for its high-energy attractions and intense, surf-style water rides. One of the park's most popular features was a wave rider attraction powered by extremely strong water jets. Riders were instructed to lie flat or kneel on a board while gripping tightly as the artificial wave formed. Adriana entered the attraction during regular operating hours, following the standard instructions given to guests. As the water jets activated, the force of the wave quickly proved difficult to control. The powerful current destabilized her position on the board. Within moments, Adriana lost her balance while riding the artificial wave. She was thrown backward by the force of the rushing water. During the fall, she struck her head hard against the surface of the ride. Lifeguards immediately shut down the attraction after recognizing the severity of the incident. Emergency responders were called to the scene as other riders were cleared from the area. Adriana was transported to a nearby hospital for urgent medical treatment. Following the incident, the Wave Rider attraction was temporarily closed. Investigations reviewed safety instructions, rider positioning rules, and the force levels of the water jets. The incident remains a sobering reminder in Schlitterbahn's safety history and ongoing discussions about the risks of high-force wave attractions.